All right, guys, this is Basia, and I'm so excited that we're getting to interview her today because not only does she help me with most things when it comes to Woodburn Corner these days, but she also runs 3 different accounts slash businesses. She's got Fine Line Pyro and My Life in Mandalas and justpinit.ca. So quite honestly, there's nothing that Basia can't do. And anything that I have thrown at her, she has been able to handle, like not just handle, but like take it and run with it, which is just so awesome. So Basia, I'm gonna talk about how amazing you are right now, and you're just gonna have to sit there and take it. I know you're not great at that, but you're just gonna have to take it. So Basia is a natural born artist. Like literally everything Basia touches, she just makes it beautiful. Anything. I'm not kidding. And if you've been seeing any like pretty stuff coming out of Woodburn Corner, you can bet that she had something to do with it. Okay. She loves color and design and photography and patterns and textures, and it shows in like everything you do. You've got a background in marketing and design, which is quite honestly the perfect combination, especially for me to be able to use those skills of yours. I'm like, yes, like it's so good. But then you're also a wife and a mama to the sweetest little girl ever. You live in Canada, and in all honesty, you've become my best friend so quickly, and it's just so lovely, like working with one of my best friends. Like it's the best. So I'm really excited to like interview you and get down into all of the things that you are just like so good at, and hopefully share some of that information with all of the people listening, because you got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to so many different things. And so I'm excited to dive into it all. So I've decided to break this interview up into different sections because you've got so many different things you're good at. So we're going to do, you're a multifaceted woman with many talents, so we've got to talk about them all. I'm going to talk about your work with me and Woodburn Corner. Then we're going to talk about pyrography, and then your Pinterest business, and then your life in mandalas. Mandala, however you want to say it. So let's dive in, yeah?
Yes.
Ready? I'm like, you ready? Okay. So we've been working together for like, what, a year and a half now, which is wild how fast it's gone, but also I feel like I've been working with you like forever too at the same time. It's fantastic. And it started with Pinterest help, and then it has just been like growing and growing and growing, and now we're at the point where you do things for the business, for Woodburn Corner, without me asking. Like you're like, oh, I updated this, I did that, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, thank you, that's awesome. You know, like, and it's just so wonderful working with someone that like has that natural ability to know what needs to get done and just like do it. So couple of things. I mean, the other thing that I love about working with you is that I get to bounce ideas off of you, but then you also come with ideas too. So like all y'all listening right now, if you don't have like an artist friend, someone who has a small business, someone who like understands what it is that you're doing in your business and how it all works, like go find someone like that, because having someone that you can check in with and bounce ideas off of is so important and so helpful when it comes to everything. And we do it for each other, and it's so nice. It's so nice. So highly suggest finding a Basia if you don't have one.
Well, actually, I was talking to my brother yesterday about it, and I was talking to him about you and how it's not just like to bounce ideas off of. Even when you're in the world of business and art, you're constantly talking about it. It naturally makes it like this accountability, a very easy accountability, not forced. It's just, you talk about it, you're going to do it more. So yeah.
Oh, totally. When you have someone that you're interacting with, they motivate you to actually like get the things done, which is so nice. And hiring you, it has been by far my best decision I've made in business. So I just thank you from the start. Thank you. But let's dive into how we can help the people listening, because you know so much about so many things, but I want to talk about some of your specialties within Woodburn Cornerland. So one thing that, like, I mean, we're going to talk about a bunch, but blog posts. You help a lot with my blog, the Burn blog. So I have like, what tips would you give someone who has a blog, who's starting a blog, who's considering a blog? Like, what recommendations do you have about like how they go about it?
I feel like the easiest way, I mean, it depends where you're at. Like, if you can get past the website and setting everything up and knowing the whole system, then the next hardest part is to create a actual flow and to come up with ideas. A majority of the time, ideas come to me when I'm making content. So I try to always think of a person who has no clue about wood burning, who doesn't know what the word pyrography is,
right?
Who is crafty, perhaps wants to try new things. And I feel like that state of mind, I can easily come up with topics. And very often you want to try to focus on valuable information, things that can actually help people, because that's what's going to drive traffic. And a big way is when I make content for Pinterest, it comes very naturally. So I'm sitting there and I got a picture of you. The most recent one too is that you of transferring the words onto the wood. And I'm just like trying to think, if I saw this first, what would I see? And then I'll be like, well, how to transfer with using this tool. And so my next question is like, well, what if I don't have that tool? So I go into the blog post and I make a draft and say how to transfer without using a wood burning tool or without using heat or whatever. So it's never like you sit down and you write and write and write. I mean, some people can do that, but I can't. So I have, maybe we have like what, 30 drafts going.
I mean, our system is pretty awesome because we have like in Squarespace there are different sections of the blog. So there's like the drafts, and then there's like the it's almost ready, and then there's like it's you know, schedule it, it's time to put it out, you know. And so we have a system where like whenever either of us has an idea, it immediately goes into a draft where it's like just a one line even of like, write about this, right? And then when I have time to write a blog, I go through all my drafts and go, oh, I want to write about this one, and sit down and write it. And then after I've written it, usually like I'll add some photos or you will add photos or whatever, but then you go through and do the SEO, like you add those keywords into the title and make sure that we're really using the right words to bring in the people and to answer the questions that I'm answering, you know, like to get people there that are looking for the answers that I'm answering in that blog post, basically.
Exactly.
And so that really helps having that system in place where like when the idea hits, don't let it just pass, write it down so that you will get to it eventually, you know? And that's really awesome. But you're the SEO stuff, like where would you suggest people go? Or, I mean, how did you learn it? I mean, was it a bunch of YouTube videos? Was it trial and error? Was it a combination of the above?
Everything. I mean, I've made in my whole lifetime probably about 8 websites, 6 of them which are very high traffic. The other ones kind of just are a platform. And I just, when I look for content and when I look for how to build it, I stumble upon articles and I save those articles, I bookmark them in my thing, and I slowly gather information. I'm also like with the whole Pinterest learning curve, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, it was a lot of SEO there, and it's not just for Pinterest. It kind of entails everything.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of SEO crosses over, even though like
Right.
Pinterest has its own SEO, Google has its own SEO. In
That's
case
right.
you don't, SEO is search engine optimization. So like the ability for when people put in keywords or search words into Google or wherever, that they are going to find your stuff. So you try and get your SEO like really nice and tight so that you're higher up when people are searching for the thing that you are talking about or sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what for me, it's been a lot of like, I've done a lot of Squarespace websites, but I've also done a Dreamweaver, which was coding. This was like years ago. I don't remember coding anymore, and I don't want to go there. But at that time,
on occasion, you have to do like a tweak or here and there on my website, and it's like you're like, I did it, I coded today. Like,
I hope so. Please work.
I mean, it's only on occasion with something like Squarespace because they really do set it up that it's like, just enter in your information and it's all ready to go. There are, just a couple things that we needed to tweak here and there, and
their help is extraordinary too. Like they have a live chat, a 24-hour live chat, and being a mom, there's been times where it's like midnight and I'm like
messaging with Squarespace.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to do is pull out my hair because I don't know how to figure out something. So I just keep working, let the chat go, and they send me a video of how to do it, which is
amazing. That's so nice. Like just
platform. So
yeah, so nice.
So good. But then I'm making a new website. I just actually finished hers on Wix, and I definitely don't like Wix. It's so confusing, and they have like 5 different ways to get to one thing, which you'd think is cool because you can, find your own way, but then it's overwhelming because you're just like, I just want to do this one thing. Why can I do it here and here and here? And so I'm not a fan of Wix. If you're choosing a platform, I would highly suggest Squarespace.
It's really worked well for Woodburn Corner. I've been surprised at what I've been able to do and I'm not a tech savvy human, and I've been able to like do stuff in Squarespace and feel fairly confident about it. So they also, their integrations are super easy. Like I just set myself finally on Fine Line Pyro because I opened a new Pinterest account for Fine Line Pyro. I'm making new landing pages, and one of them is to sign up for my course, my Skillshare course that I'm making, that is going to be coming up. And I'm like, well, I don't want to lead people there and then there's no course. So I say sign up, and then when it's ready, I'll let you know. So that's my first time making a newsletter platform, which is sad because I know email is massive and I hear you talking about it. And every time you tell everyone, I'm like, oh, I guess I should. You're like, she's talking to me again.
Yeah. Even if you don't write a month, like don't feel pressured to write a monthly newsletter, but collect those people, and
more than anything, it's just knowing that you have the ability to contact your people if you need to, or
like what happened yesterday or the day before, whenever.
Right? With Instagram shutting down for 6 hours and all of us going, is all our content gone?
Yeah.
Is it ever going to come back on? Is it going to take a week, a month, a day? Like it was,
I do not know.
It was kind of wild. So, and one thing I'm going to give you props for, and I think that more people need to do this, is when you have a question and you need help, you go and get the help you need right away instead of getting super frustrated with it, which I think, one, it's a massive time saver, and you just aren't ripping your hair out. So take a piece of advice from Basia. I don't do that. I am not the person that is help me or whatever. I mean, I will lean on Basia, but it takes a lot for me to actually contact Squarespace or anything like that. But you do it all the time, and it's
all the time. And I feel like Squarespace is easiest because they have the 24-hour support. A lot of platforms now are online, so everything is chatting, and I don't like sitting on the phone. If it comes to figuring out how many minutes I have left on my phone or whatever, some information that I need to get, but I don't feel like it. I'm not so excited about doing that. But if they have a live chat,
Yeah,
I
it
just
makes
punch
it
in my question and do other things.
Yeah.
Like it's so simple.
Well,
So
I mean, you're super efficient with your time, and that's actually it's not my next question, but the one after. So we'll just dive into it right now. How do you organize your time? I mean, because you have a lot going on. I mean, between Woodburn Corner and Fine Line Pyro, My Life in Mandalas, and Just Pin It, and all the other things that you do on the side, and being a mom and a wife, and just like living life. So like, how do you organize your life, your time? Is it like, only Pinterest on Mondays and Tuesdays, or is it like times of day? How do you generally organize things?
I definitely shift and adjust with, first of all, worldly circumstances, because
Yeah. We've all had to do that in the past year and a half, I think.
yeah, and you're forced to do that. But when you're not forced to do it, it's kind of harder, right? So I have just not burning myself out is huge. So I make it a massive point to zone out. And I'm very lucky. I've been told by many of my friends who are couch potatoes that their zone out is like watching TV and doing nothing, or, like, I don't know, like reading is very healthy and that's good, that zones out people, but it's productive. So my zone out is drawing mandalas, is wood burning. So I'm super lucky
that your work is where you get to do that.
Escape reality when I need it, but then I have stuff at the end of it. So I'm just lucky like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of going back to like how to order,
it's more than luck. You set yourself up so that you could do this, right? I mean, we all of us pyros here kind of did, like the fact that we're getting to create the thing that also relaxes us and is like so wonderful and great for the soul, like can also be the thing that makes you money, like, hey, like
which is how it should be.
It's like that,
which is how exactly it should be.
Yeah. Right. So you like, as far as like organizational stuff though, like, I mean, we use Asana, not very well, but I mean, I don't use it very well. You use it well. I'm not stellar at it. But Asana's good. ASANA for anybody who's looking at it. It's a great like to-do list type of,
and it's a great shared to-do list because we can each have people that, like, I'll see what you were doing and you'll see what I'm doing, which is huge because then we don't have to wonder.
There's no crossover. We know when things are done. It's nice. Yeah. But then you also use Google Keep, I know, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it Google Keep? That's the thing that like huge. You can't live without, right?
So yeah. So Asana is for us. This is Asana's Woodburn Corner. I do not use it for anything else.
Okay.
Not for any specific reason, just because that's where all stuff is, our stuff is. And when I log into there, I feel like, okay, now it's Woodburn Corner time.
Yeah.
And then for my personal life, and work spills into this sometimes, especially if there's really urgent things to do. But Google Keep is huge because they can have little sticky note style. You can have a checklist, you can have this. I can share certain notes so my husband knows what to buy if he's on the road and he stops by the grocery store. He knows he'll go through that most of the time, he'll go through that before he shops. And I can add it when I'm like, oh, there's no more paper towel. So I just quickly add it right there and then. So that helps a lot because that's very methodical.
That's a time saver. It's a massive time saver. You're not having to communicate all of those things. It's all just kind of done for you.
Remember them.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't sleep if I have to just remember something
in your head. Yeah. But you're one of the most efficient people I know. And so like, I'm like, tell people what your secret is. Please tell people your secret.
Okay. So Google Keep is kind of like personal, and sometimes, like, let's say for the prompts challenge, tomorrow is nightlife, and
like, is it? Yeah, it is.
I know, because I was like, I made that before we came on, and I have a mandala that has a moon center in it, but I don't like the moon, so I just put it away far away and just forgot about it. But now is my chance to like actually do it. So I'm going to tonight just touch up the moon and fix it so that I'm ready for tomorrow. So that's kind of like worky, kind of like also natural. I don't want to write down when I have to do art, but it's due by tomorrow. So
Right.
I will write it down at that point. And then before I go to bed, not right before, I try to have a time before bed that's not a screen in my face, but I will go through this list and I will make sure that priorities are taken care of, that I know what's happening tomorrow and all this stuff. And I feel like going over that daily is really important, because then things will get more likely get done.
And then do you do like a weekly thing too? Like where you check in weekly to be like, okay, what's going on this week? Or is it more
Yes.
like day-to-day type thing?
Actually, it's funny. So the to-do list is on my phone. It's I don't know if you can see. Oh, even
Nope. It's like all whited out.
yeah. So it's Burnt October is the prompts were the last ones I opened, but wow. Okay. So anyways,
Maybe you can take a screenshot or something, although it's like your schedule, so maybe not. But like,
yeah,
check out Google.
it won't make sense for people.
Yeah, just check out Google Keep, I think, more than anything. If you use Google services anyways, like if you're using
all tied together.
Yeah, like if you're using Google Calendar and all of this stuff, like it really makes it easy to just kind of put it all together into one place.
So for my like life and for myself and sometimes businessy, like I have to cancel an app that I signed up for by the 16th. So here's a set an alarm. Google Keep is awesome. So then for I have a bunch of Skillshare courses that I like, do a Skillshare course. I know I have to do that. It's happening right now. I actually use Trello, which is the same as Asana, but just a different company. And I set it up like that so that when I'm in Trello, I'm doing Skillshare. And when I'm in Asana, I'm doing, and I feel like the separation is really huge.
Well, especially because you're in so many different places doing so many different things. Like you don't want fine line pyro stuff distracting you when you're supposed to be working on, Woodburn Corner or, whatever else it is. Like you want to be able to like single focus on the thing that you're focusing on. So I get the whole separation thing. Okay. So
and then for the weekly, you asked for the weekly. I am a dinosaur and I use a paper. And so this is my next week, which is, I'm not done yet because I usually do it on Thursday, Fridays for the whole week. And then I'll review it again on Monday. And on Monday, I'll be like, okay, does this make sense still? What's changed? What's not? And in here we'll include my pinning schedule. I'll include my car maintenance at Honda. I'll include our interview here, like everything for the week. And that this is where it kind of really meshes together. And I always do it a week, like Thursday or Friday. If I know, like sometimes I pin super ahead, so I'll just write that down and check it off so that it's already done. And then that's kind of like a work in progress. It's live basically, even like, and then for the month, I'm also a dinosaur and I have a monthly calendar because
I don't think it's a dinosaur. I think there's something to having a physical calendar in your face. I mean, I know for me, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And so having a physical to-do list, having a physical calendar, a physical, this is what's going on this week, really helps me to get through my week. So, and that is
kind of like this is like the bigger picture. So these are like, I have my car maintenance tomorrow. That's why I mentioned it. But so I have that on my calendar here. And then I wrote it in my weekly one because I need to make sure to schedule. That's a lot of time to go there and come back. And then like the calendars for like super permanent, like appointments and things that are for sure. And birthdays, vacations, things that are like 100% for sure. At Burnt October, I just slightly put it in there in pen, even though because I just wanted to get a layout of it. But, some people say that it's like too much for them because they don't have a lot of things on the go. So choosing one thing perhaps is making more sense for you, or or just doing the weekly thing, or just the calendar in the week minus the Google Keep, or
Yeah.
it's all about finding what works
Yeah.
and sticking to it. That's the most important part, because I've had so many friends who are like, how do you stay organized? And I'm like, I just do it. And they'll do it for a couple days. And then when I ask them, oh, so how's that going? They're like, oh, I switched to like this kind of calendar.
I can't tell you how many planners I've gone through in my life.
Yeah.
I have figured out a couple of things though that really work for me. Having a big calendar really works for me. Having a weekly calendar that's a rip-off kind really works for me.
Yeah.
And for my family, because we're able to like get those details down right there. So then everybody's all on the same page, which is really okay. Back to website stuff. Design tips. I mean, you're so good at creating beautiful content, like taking images and stuff and just like turning it into something pretty for people to look at. What are like any other tips besides like use Canva? Like what things do you keep in mind when you're coming up with like these different stuff?
I mean, I guess I've been doing it for so long, and first I've had like
it just comes naturally for you to just like do it. It does.
At this point, it's a little bit more natural. It did take a while. Like at one point I had 7 or 8 Pinterest clients with like 2 or 3 pins a day. So I was pumping out content like hardcore. So yeah, it's going to come more naturally for me. But if you want to get started, the biggest, and I still do this, the biggest suggestion I have for you is be a user. Go on Pinterest and what do you like? What stands out?
But like as a research thing, not just as a user, but like for research, right? Yeah. To like, you're in there to look at what's working, what's not working.
You're going.
No, go ahead. Oh boy.
So it was a little laggy.
I know it happens. I'm like, it happens. It's okay.
Yeah, you're not going on there to look for a new nib. You're not going to go shopping. You are looking at like, ooh, that stands out to me. Why? Look at their words, break it down and look at their pictures. What are they using? Their art? Are they using just like
what fonts look beautiful? What colors are popping out to you? All
that's right. Yeah.
That's really good and helpful. And it can work. That sort of thing works for anything, like Instagram too. Like I can't tell you, like, especially right now with Burnt October, when you go to the Burnt October hashtag and you scroll through, what stands out to you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like go and do that and you'll be like, oh, okay. And then you might start changing up how you take photos, you know, because it's so important how you display the stuff. It is not just about the piece. It is so important how it looks, you know, beyond just how good you are at pyrography, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Last question when it comes to Woodburn Corner. How is it working with me?
This is
kind of a joke of a question, but you know what I mean?
But for real, it's absolutely like the biggest honor I could ever like have experienced. I mean, I think we just make such a phenomenal match.
We really do. We
in
really
so many ways.
We just have so much fun together more than anything.
Yeah. Which is huge.
It's so much fun and it makes work not feel like work, like at all.
Big time.
Which is really great. So
which I don't tell my husband because he's not gonna like that one.
It's good. Okay, on to pyrography. So you've been wood burning since 2009 and you started your business in 2019, Fine Line Pyro. Were you making pyrography pieces during those 10 years?
A little bit here and there. Yeah.
Like as gifts for just like relaxation, like
just relaxation. And the only gifts that I was too, I don't want to say shy about it, but I don't like forcing art on people. I don't like being like, here's my art as a gift. Where people could be like, first of all, this is ugly, or like this doesn't match my aesthetic, or
you're so funny. Anybody would be so happy to get your
I don't know. I don't want to ever push that on anybody. So the only person that has received a bunch of my wood burning is my mom, and she's always like my number one fan, which is really awesome.
So sweet.
It could be unfinished and she'll be like, wow, this is beautiful.
That's great.
Like, it's not done yet.
She's not wrong though. She's not wrong. Your work is gorgeous. Like I was a fan of yours before, of your pyrography, before we met in person at the Burn Club retreat. Like long before that. Like I was such a fan of yours. So it was really fun to actually get to like meet you in person and like watch you burn and like see how you do it. You know what I mean? Like it just really cool with your sexy tip. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, what burner do you use?
Only the razor tip, which I've been using for 15 years. Well, now it's about 15 years, the same exact machine? One. It's crazy.
Have you told razor tip that? You should tell them. You should just
yes.
BT dubs. Like this is on 15, we're going on 15 years with this baby. Yeah. Like that's awesome.
It's huge.
Okay, favorite type of wood to burn on?
I love cedar just because it's buttery and smells good. But I definitely have been using cherry a lot, although I wouldn't want to use it because it's expensive. But I'm lucky because my husband he's a mill worker and his family designs kitchens and builds kitchens, and they built a home for Cher back in like 30 years ago. And she made her kitchen completely out of cherry wood. I'm talking about. You
just have like tons of cherry wood.
All the cutoffs from the cabinets, every like it's lots of weird different shapes, which is cool because that's more fun and stuff. So I have
make friends with your local mill worker.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe maybe marry one.
That would be even better.
Okay, how did you find your unique fine line style? Because it's super you. It's very any piece that pops up that's yours, I immediately know it's yours. And so like, how did you get there? Or has it always been fine? Like, have you always been into that kind of pyro, or did you like kind of morph into it?
I think it's both. I morphed into it because before wood burning, I would do a lot of sketches and specifically mandalas. Like I don't very often draw people or dogs or like landscapes even. Like I don't necessarily, I have, and it's okay, but I find I overthink it too much. Whereas mandala is very like you make a shape and then you do it over again and it's beautiful. Like you can't mess up on it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's very organic and natural, but I always was using a very thin marker and thin pen. And I guess that when I put it onto wood,
you wanted the same effect.
Yes. And I think also part of that is that when it's thinner, it just is faster because you do a line. Is if you want a thick line or something.
Oh, it takes so much
shading.
Time. Yeah.
So maybe that had a play in it, but
I mean, that definitely had a play in why I am a line artist, like why I do line drawings, because I'm like, I don't have the patience, nor do I want to. Like I've done it. Sure, I can shade and do realistic stuff, but like, do I want to? Is that my jam? It's not, so to each their own. But like, I've done like a couple mandalas and they're not my favorite either because it's so repetitive, which is interesting. And that's probably the thing that you love about it, because it's like so repetitive and relaxing sort of
zero thought. Once you get that first like thing, it's zero thought afterwards.
Yeah, you just go. Yeah. That's awesome.
I do want.
This is why I love it, is because we all have our unique take on this one craft, like each one of us, and it's so cool, and for all of our different reasons,
Yeah. I do want to say, because this is kind of a pivotal moment in my understanding of my artistic style, because you can have a style and you don't know it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know it until the Burn Club retreat. And I was doing all these lines and I was just doing my thing, and how I came to it is repetition over and over. And you do one thing and then you do it 100 more times, and it evolves and it creates into something that just is you. So repetition is huge. So I've been doing it and doing it and doing it. But then we got to the Burn Club retreat and we had this exercise.
Yeah, where
Trying to stay positive about it. Where we were forced.
where they were forced. I set them up
Forced.
with, they all had the same pine piece of wood, and we gave them all a versatile and an image of a quail, because we were in California and that's the state bird. And gave you guys like what, half an hour? I don't even remember. I think it was just like, go ahead and make it. I don't know that we had a time limit on anything, except for like maybe dinner is being served. But you made your piece, and tell them the story. Please
so I did. I had trouble with it, not only because we had to use the versatile, but also because we were burning on a bass plank. Like
no, it was pine. It was a pine.
Oh, pine. Like, yeah. So it's something that I'm just not used to.
Yeah.
Both things, and I'm just kind of like, what do I don't do birds. Like,
well, it's a photo of a quail, right? That we
realistic photo,
realistic quail, and so you could do anything with it, you know,
you can
make it super realistic if you wanted to,
which a lot of people did. And I'm just like looking at these people, and they're like like quickly doing these super stunning birds that look better than the photo, and I'm like, I want to go home now. So I did the outline, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And Chelsea from Pickle Shop Curiosity, she was just like, what's wrong? Like, well, you look lost. And I'm like, well, I have no idea what to do here. And she's like, do your lines. And I'm like, what do you mean, my lines?
You're like, what are you talking about? I don't have
lines. I'm like, and then she just kind of like put it together, and she's just like, you do you, don't overthink it. And so I filled the thing with lines, and then I'm like, aha.
And then after I finished, I came around, because I was cooking dinner, I think, at the time. And so I came around, and like everybody's were light out, and I was like, this is Basia's. Like, I could, in a second, I knew which one was yours, you know? And so I can see how that whole thing was a pivotal moment, and you realizing that you have a very unique style that is yours. But you must have realized it a little bit before then, because you did choose the name Fine Line Pyro. So I do think that you had a feeling at what you enjoyed doing at the very least.
This is true. And I guess the fine line stemmed from my sketches.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know that. And I don't know how, I guess subconsciously I knew, but I didn't really...
It just worked out, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. I'm so glad we talked about that. That's really fun to hear. Okay. I know that you teach classes. Where do you do them, and have things changed since COVID?
Yeah. So I used to teach classes at Lee Valley Tools, which is kind of like a Home Depot, but just, in Canada, but just for woodworking and kind of like gardening stuff, but stuff that's kind of more made out of wood and stuff like that. So they're very niche in that world. And I would just, some days I would have just a demo table, and people in the store would just come and watch me burn. And then sometimes I would actually have like paid classes and be in their shop and teach. That was really fun and got me out of my comfort zone. So that was huge for me. But since then they've closed. And the other place I teach is Airbnb, which you guys have as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the Airbnb experience, isn't it called
Experiences? Yes.
Yeah. Check it out, you guys, because anybody in any town that you're in, you can do this, you know, and it's a way to make some good money, and you get to be kind of in control of your environment, which is great. So
So I Lee Valley closed completely, and they're not doing any online stuff, but Airbnb, you were able with regulations, like I was only able to have groups of like 4 at the max, so 5 people in one room, and then masks. I had to sanitize, open windows, which it was winter, so it was like, it's like, bring your jackets, but I'm doing this.
You're also working with a hot tool, so like,
so maybe it's a safer thing.
Next to a fire, it's fine.
So I definitely did a lot less classes, because at that point, when you're having less people, it's not as worth it. You're not making as much, because you're still the same time amount is being spent. So but I have now decided to make these Skillshare courses because I don't know what's going to happen next. And I'm still going to continue to teach when that's available, but I want to share my knowledge and make money while I sleep. So that's where Skillshare comes in. So,
And it's been on your list for a while now to make those Skillshare classes. So I'm glad to hear that you're like on it and doing it because you should be. Okay. What is the hardest part for you with Fine Line Pyro, and what's the easiest, most enjoyable part?
The hardest part is pricing my work.
You're not alone. I'm sure everybody else at home right now is like, yep.
It's actually on Pinterest, I made you a story idea and I made a bunch of pins, and those by far have received the most traffic, the most likes.
Like, the story was like how to price your artwork or something like that, right? And it's like, multiple pages of, my suggestions on how to price your art. Yeah.
Which is helpful, but it's still like, even if you go through the process, you still have to like put a number on it.
You still have to put a number on it. Right. And
so
let's be real here. Pricing your art, it's all made up. Any price that you see anywhere is all made up. Someone had to just decide what the price was, and like that's how it is. So I think it's always going to be like a difficult, hard part for small business. Okay, what's the best part though? Like, what's the most enjoyable part of Fine Line?
Definitely creating the art, 100%. And I'm finding it hard to record myself doing it because my kind of style is very much, I make a piece and then
hi Mika.
Hurt my head.
Did you hurt your head? Are you okay?
Oh, I got it by myself.
Oh, you're so independent. That's great.
Good job,
baby.
You can join us, it's okay. Are you feeling better? She's so cute, Basia.
You feeling better? Okay. I'll be done soon, okay?
Mama, I got a sweater that I want to show you, and it's a unicorn.
Yes, it is. Show me later, okay?
But I can show you now.
Okay, beautiful.
No, not this one.
A different one? Okay, show me that one later, okay, baby?
She is the best. I love her so much.
Okay,
back to the most enjoyable parts of Fine Line Pyro.
So I'm
making up art.
Yeah, it's really cool and easy, but I'm having difficulty when it comes to like making content. Like I need to film my process. My style is very like make a piece, and then I get kind of done with that step, and then I make a new piece because I just want to keep creating, but I don't know what to make on this piece, so I let it be. So I have like 15 in progress ones, which I'm sure a lot of people work like this. And so when it comes to making content, you don't want to, like, it's no longer you can just put out a little piece. People want to see the finished product. You want to see how it's doing, how to prepare it. Like there's a huge demand for that. So that's deterring me from just being free about it. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying really hard.
I want to remind you and anybody else listening that you own your business, you own your art, and you get to do whatever you want to do. And you also can say no to whatever you don't want to do.
Right.
So just because there's a demand and people want to see the reels and the behind the scenes and the in process and all of that stuff, doesn't mean you have to give it to them.
Yeah.
So like, just as a reminder, you get to decide what your business is and what it isn't, right?
That's right.
So choosing what you want to do and choosing what you don't want to do, like, are equally important. They really are.
Absolutely. Because you don't want to be at the point where you just dread doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've pivoted on this, especially because this type of content is very popular on TikTok, on Instagram, on
literally
Facebook.
Everywhere. If it's a video, it's popular.
Except for Pinterest, because Pinterest doesn't work the same way. And I'm not selling here. I'm talking as a user.
You just are obsessed with Pinterest and know that it really am. So yeah, it's fun.
So on there, you can have snippets because people aren't there to see your, like, it's bonus if it's from start to finish, but if there's a juicy like piece of smoke that's coming out and it's like, it still works there.
3 seconds of content. That's
right. So I think that's helped me even love it more because I don't feel pressure to have this beautiful video, which I know it's bonus on YouTube and everywhere, but like I just can't. So I'm leaning on, and this is what helped me also decide to open up Fine Line Pyro on Pinterest, because like that's why not? I have to practice what I preach, right? So let's do it for my own self. And
oh yeah, I mean, Fine Line Pyro is only going to benefit from it, you know, for sure. It's a matter of like, I have a feeling that part of it is like, you don't want to get too overwhelmed by orders and stuff for Fine Line Pyro. I think that it actually is a small part of it. Do you prefer, because I know you do some custom work that comes in, but I have a feeling that you prefer making whatever you want to make rather than custom work, or do you like them equally?
Beautiful.
Can I show you?
Maybe we're recording.
That is lovely.
Right now.
Another unicorn.
I want to show Rachel.
It's beautiful, Mika. Very beautiful. You know, I'm
I'll
talking
be very
with
done
Mom.
very soon, okay?
Yeah, Mom will come back really soon and chat with you. We just have a couple more things we're going to talk about, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
How's the door behind you? I'll be done soon.
I just want to move slowly.
Okay, in a minute, okay? I'll be out soon, baby.
Okay.
No, it's fine. Are you kidding? I've got 3 kids. Like, and I know that people listening right now, they've got children. They know what this is like. This is life. This is life. So I was saying, I have a feeling that you enjoy making whatever you want to make more than creating customs. Is that?
Yeah, I feel like working on customs takes a really long time to get to a medium ground with a person, like an understanding, because some people just are so specific, but they don't understand wood burning.
Yeah.
And then so the communication takes long, and I don't know how to streamline that, but I do make some custom. The custom work I do like to do is people have given me their old paddles or oars, and they're just like, can you put a mandala on this? And that's super simple because
yes, I can.
Yes, I can do that. So I would prefer that, but I have, going back to the whole pricing thing, I've opened up my shop and closed it because I overthink it, and then I open it up because I'm just like, well, it has to be there. Just who cares if it's overpriced? At least I'm not like, if nobody buys it, then whatever. And yeah, I know I go back through and this and this and this, but that's a big reason why I'm making the Skillshare courses, is so that like at least something's working, and I want to try to focus on that while possibly having these sold eventually if they do. And so yeah, custom mandalas maybe, but yeah.
So custom mandalas we would prefer over like just general custom pieces, because it just, that way you have a little more control over the situation.
That's right. Yeah.
I at one point was like, I am not doing any more customs. Like I just couldn't anymore because of how much time it took to get to a place of understanding. So, but I mean, and you can streamline that process. I mean, I feel like what we did with the custom order form on my website for all y'all in Burn Club Plus, like that order form and that process is pretty simple, and it at least gets you a really good idea of what it is that they're looking for, like from the start, like from the jump, and then, and like their price range and all of that. And then it's like, okay, from here, now we can like have whatever discussions need to be had. So if you're looking for like a way to, not you specifically, but anybody listening, for a way to kind of streamline that process, check that out. Okay, last question in the pyrography section. Any pyro tips or tricks that you want to share?
I'm always a big fan of sanding my work.
After you finish?
Before and after. Yeah. After I finish, I obviously like those clear, crisp lines. I mean, I have seen artwork that embraces the overburn or whatever it's called. But I feel like if there's mistakes, or if there's like wobbly lines, or if there's, imperfections, then sanding it really gently with a higher grit, meaning that it's softer
Finer.
and not as rough, then it just takes away
It
that.
takes off that slight overburn and just cleans up the whole thing.
Yeah. And then it's also easier to go back in and just tidy it up and touch up any super imperfections. So
you're a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to your art. So I can imagine that is something that you want to do. Okay, now we got to move on to Pinterest because you're the queen. So you started your Pinterest business, Pinterest management business, justpinit.ca. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, I don't know what you're doing. You really should be checking it out. But you started it in May of 2020. And I know I've said it like a million times about like how much it has helped my business and how much growth I've seen from when we actually started Pinterest, and the amount of traffic that I get to my website, and how it's vast majority is coming from Pinterest. And that's like regardless of whatever I've got going on, but like Pinterest still dominates every single time. So while I know some people can't necessarily take on a whole new platform, Basia has made it easier with the toolkit that you made for us, with these the Zoom chats that we did last month. If you haven't watched those yet, please go and watch those, because you gave us all of it. You gave us everything. Like it was such a great conversation, both of them, such great conversations. On the 10th, we talked like in general about how Pinterest works, all the different things that you can do to really utilize Pinterest to like the best of your ability. And then on the 20th in the cherry chat, we dove into each person's Pinterest, and like it was such a great convo because we were able to see these different businesses and these different stages that these businesses were at when it comes to Pinterest, and how they're working and things that they could be doing different and all of that. And it was so helpful. So if you haven't watched it, go watch those. But let's dive into, why is Pinterest fun for you? Like, what do you love about it?
I think I love it because it is so, how do I say this? Like when you go on Instagram, you have to be following the person. You have to be super engaged. You have to spend hours, not just like talking and posting and interacting and doing this, but from a business side, I love Pinterest because it's a platform that gives you the opportunity to be seen without, like, there is an algorithm, there are rules, and there is a way to do things, but it's not dependent on who you're following and things like that. It's just the opportunity is a much bigger opportunity to be seen. It seems almost like more fair on Pinterest to have your work on there versus on Instagram and stuff.
It's like, quite honestly, it's kind of less work in that you still have to create the content just like you do on any other platform, but you put it up there and then it just goes. You're not having to comment on every single one and spend 10 minutes on Pinterest afterwards to, like, interact with other people and do DMs and share it to stories and reels and blah, 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 blah. Like Pinterest is like, you got great content, you put it up there, we're going to show it to the people. And not only do they show it to the people, but like Pinterest has like the best click-through rate of like any social media platform out there, meaning people actually leave Pinterest to go and check out stuff. They leave the app, where it is so hard to get Instagrammers and TikTokers and all of these other people on these other apps to do that. So it's so beneficial in so many ways, but it's something that we hadn't talked about, I don't think, in any of our other chats, about like what you love about it and how it really is just that it's almost easy. Once you learn the platform, it's easier than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
As far as like time consuming.
Time consuming by far.
Yeah.
By far. It's, I mean, you can reuse content too.
Yeah.
So that's huge. You can, it's much more easy to batch work.
Yeah.
I feel, because Instagram, if you post the same thing like in the same week, that's going to show up in your feed. People are going to see that. That's repetitive. But on Pinterest, it gets lost in the world, that is can be easily found by other people, but they don't get annoyed at it that it's very like the same.
Well, and even the people that are following you, right? So people that are following me on Pinterest, they're not being inundated with everything that is Woodburn Corner.
Yeah.
It's just part of everything that they see, you know, it's just like mixed in there. So I'm glad we talked about that, because I don't think we had discussed like ever in all of our conversations about like the ease of it, because
that's right.
There's a learning curve, right? You have to get over the learning curve, and then it's simpler than other platforms. It just requires less of you.
Yeah. Especially when in terms of engagement, I always think of it as the introverts platform.
Yeah, I love that's fantastic.
I like when I get, for some reason, when I go on Instagram and I want to comment, or like somebody's like, great work, I'm just like, how many times can I say thank you? Or like, I just feel awkward with these small talk. I don't know how to do that. I want to engage with you and I want to teach you and I want to this, but I don't know how to do that in short form on Instagram. You know what I mean?
Right?
Sorry?
Is she okay?
Oh, that's outside. Yeah. Should I close my window?
Okay. I was like, I thought that was like her screaming in the other room, but it's just outside.
Oh no.
Okay.
No. There.
Okay.
But,
why do you, I mean, we just talked about why it's so good for small business and the click-through rate and stuff, but like the people that are there on Pinterest in general are the people that are purchasing for their homes. So, and building their homes and making their homes pretty, you know.
Homes and wedding is huge too. So pyrographers, like there's so much we can do in weddings, and gifts and in decoration and the whole world
of weddings. Yeah. There's so much within that. Okay, so as far as the services that you offer, I know like it goes from like anything from like audits all the way up to like what you do for me, which is like it's turnkey service. Like you've taken it and you do everything, and I'm pretty much hands off when it comes to Pinterest. I'll go in on occasion to just be like, oh, what's happening in here? But like it is very much on occasion. But like, what's your favorite service that you offer?
I mean, I love teaching. I love teaching it. So there's kind of like an audit that I can do, and I'll go in there and I'll look at your keywords. I have for a couple clients, they've even entrusted me with their password so I can go into their analytics and really get to know what's going on. I love doing that. I really, because immediately I can see how I can improve it, and that brings me so much joy. And to be able to like teach somebody that and then be like, okay, go do this and go.
Oh girl, I feel you on that. Why do you think I love coaching so much? Like
exactly,
because when you can see how you can say something to someone and then they take it and turn it around into this thing, and then you get to watch them succeed. Like it's the most fulfilling thing ever for me. And like, I know exactly what you mean. So, okay. What was my next question? Okay. What have you learned about Pinterest since becoming a Pinterest manager? Like, have there been any mistakes that you've made where you've been like, oh, won't do that again?
Yeah. Huge. For one client, I she was posting stuff for years, but it was so sporadic, so random, sometimes from Instagram and sometimes just manually because she was interested in trying it and then dropped off again, which is very natural. I mean, even for my own business, like for Just Pin It, I was on a roll and then lockdown happened and I needed to take care of my clients. So I let mine go and it just happens, right? So, and that's totally fine. So the biggest mistake I made was I went in there and I was like, let's change things up. I'm ready to see this is wrong. This is wrong. Let's do this. Let's try this. And I switched too many things at once. And the traffic that she was already getting from her old stuff dropped because now it's changed. And it took, again, a time to start growing again. And I could have
Which is normal, but you probably could have
Normal.
avoided the sharp
full
drop
down.
off.
Yeah. I could have just
Interesting.
slowly started pinning, slowly massaging everything. And then it would have been, instead of down and then slowing up, it would just slowly go up from that point. So I feel like doing things slower and little by little, which is also amazing because who has time to just go in there and do everything all at once?
Right.
That's a biggest.
It's just nicer for the algorithm too. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it looks funky to them when too many things are, changed all at once. They're like, flag this.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's wait and see what they're doing here before we show them to everybody, sort of thing. Okay. Best thing that you can do for your Pinterest feed. What is like the one thing that people should do for their Pinterest feed that will make the biggest impact?
Consistency.
Okay.
Consistency is key. I mean,
Whether it's once a day or once a week or once a month, try and be as consistent as possible.
I have a few clients right now that I'm only pinning 2 pins a week, and they are doing the growth is a little bit slower than let's just say yours, because I'm doing 2 pins a day for you. Their growth is slower, but it's consistently on the rise. And 2 pins a week is manageable. Like, you're already putting that content on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
And
reuse that content, y'all.
and reuse it, but don't direct when you post on Instagram. There's these apps that automatically post to Pinterest. Do not do that, because the keywords you're using and the talking in Instagram is very different than the way you're talking on Pinterest. So you take what you got and then you put it into Pinterest manually and you do your thing. But consistency is key. Yeah.
But it's all about the repackage. Got to just repackage it for Pinterest.
Yeah.
Basically.
Just stretch it out a little bit. It's not a square platform.
It's not square. But just being able to, but being able to utilize that content that you're already creating in another place, like, it just makes so much sense. It really does. And it doesn't, once you get used to creating the pins from the content that you've already made, I know it gets easier. I know it gets easier. And then once you've like got that going, it just, the whole thing, you just got to get over the learning curve, y'all. Once you get over that learning curve, then it will kind of just be a little bit easier. But Basia's always here if you need help too. Always here. Okay, favorite part of managing Pinterest business accounts. What's your favorite part?
Getting to know new artists and getting to dive into their accounts and getting to know them and getting to know their art form. I've had lettering artists, punch needle artists, paper quilling, like there
was a cannabis one, right?
Yes, he kind of bonsai. So he made bonsais out of cannabis. Cannabis,
so cool.
Yeah. So every time, yeah.
Oh, and I was gonna say, and you also have another client that, what does she do? It's like greenery, but for therapy, sort of.
Infinite succulent, yeah. She makes she has crystals and she makes succulents inside them and does like Reiki and spiritual work and just, so every time
you're getting to like dive into all of these different businesses.
Yes, and it's not just like I put a picture and pin it. Like, I need to know about it and I need to understand it. So I spend some time and I go and I research what is a cannabonsai and what is a bonsai and what is cannabis, and like, it's really super fun and it's something that I wouldn't like go out and do randomly, like paper quilling. Like, I kind of know what it is, but I'm not gonna like really research it. But now I have the opportunity. So that part's really
that's
fun.
awesome. I can imagine that being fun, like getting to know all of these different businesses, how they work, why they work, what their, the goal is, all of that, because each of them have different goals too. Really cool. Okay, now we're going to talk about mandalas, which I think is, that's how you got started in all of this anyways, right?
Yeah.
All of this was because you love making mandalas.
Yeah.
Why do you love them?
It's my meditation. It's my zen. It's the only thing that keeps me sane. Not the only thing, but the biggest, easiest. It's super simple. All you have to do is chalk on a driveway or a pen and a pencil on a paper, and like it's super simple. You can do it anywhere, and it's just my meditation, my form of meditation.
So good. When did you start creating them? Like, have you always created them, or did you discover them at some point? Like,
it's funny because I was talking about this with my brother again, because he's filming my Skillshare course. So we were entrenched in it for a long time. And I don't remember my first mandala, but which means that I've probably been making them for
as long as you
really long time. Yeah.
Okay, so what is your process in general? Because I mean, like you said, you can just make it with chalk on the ground. So obviously you're not using the same process there, but like for your like fine art pieces, what's your process? Are you using a compass? Or are you using a like Procreate or ruler? How do you do it?
So before I got my iPad, which absolutely
Game changer,
revolutionized everything, I was using a compass, and I really am very freestyle about it. I don't measure anything. I don't sit there and make sure that each one is exact same and very symmetrical. Like if you fold it in half, it will not match. I feel like it has a very flow to it
it's natural. It has a natural kind of vibe about it, even though it looks like it's perfect, but like it still has a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, the hand-drawn feel.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, I just kind of go with it and just start at the center and just stay within my boundaries, my borders that I drew with the compass and the lines, but really not care, which is why it's probably meditative for me. Like I really don't care if they're not the same shape exactly, just generally there's their repeating pattern.
Yeah. Okay. But so you basically do circles, a bunch of different circles and different sizes, and then fill in.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you do lines too to like separate it out? So you've got like 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do however many lines you want. And those lines, they help really like keep it in and give it some order. But sometimes I'll go beyond the line and be like, oh, what else are you gonna do? But go beyond the line on
every single one.
Comes out. Yeah.
Right. I love it. Okay. I know you were talking about your classes. So the class that you made or are making, is this like how to make mandalas or how to burn mandalas? What is it? So
I when I teach on Airbnb, I teach how to make them, and then I teach how to use them, how to wood burn them. And the process of making them is different than what I'm teaching on Skillshare, because I actually have a grid that I made and I put on the computer so that the people who come into my course just fill in what I've made for them, just because it's easier and faster when I'm teaching. But the Skillshare course teaches you how to actually make the grid. And specifically how to vary it and how to add certain like elements and how to make it different. And I also touch in a little bit about creativity and like going outside and grabbing a leaf and tracing that leaf shape and doing it. And,
like different things that you can pull into your mandalas that you're making.
Yeah.
Different ways that you can probably use it when you're done too.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. Okay, so when can, because I know that there are probably some people watching that are in Skillshare that have a Skillshare account, when can they maybe expect it?
So we're pretty much done the filming. I only have to do my final thoughts part, which is always the hardest part because it's always like, thanks for joining the class. So fake for me. It's so hard for me to be natural. I can rehearse it a million times, but then the camera goes on and you're just like,
you just got to talk to it like you're talking to me, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You're just fine.
So we just have to record that little bit, but I'm hoping that by the end of October, all the editing will be done, because
So exciting.
piecing it together. And my brother is a photographer and artist as well, and he's also a perfectionist. So he kind of went and did a lot more stuff than he probably needed to. But I'm gonna let him do his thing, and hopefully all that extra stuff will cover up my red
Oh,
face.
please, you're fine. You are always way too critical on yourself. I think it, like most of us, but I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic class. I'm sure. Oh, Basha, this has been so fun getting to like dive into all of the different things that you do, because you do a lot.
A lot, yeah. But it's a lot, but it also all works.
It all
together.
intertwines together. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It totally does. It all supports each other, and the things that you learn from, you know, your Pinterest, like work with your fine line pyro, the stuff that you learn from fine line pyro and having business helps with Woodburn Corner, and like it all just totally like helps itself, which is it's awesome. But I'm just so glad that I got to meet you and get to work with you, and that you're willing to share all your knowledge with all of us. It's really helpful and really nice. So thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys, I will make sure to include all of her links to everything so that you can follow her everywhere, as you should be. But thanks, Basha. This was awesome.
Thank you.
All right, see you later.